Hello and welcome to a Women Empowerment Edition, Impact for Change. The purpose of the podcast is to give women the space to share their stories in an inspiring way to help empower and inspire women to create the change. Now, today's guest, she's an internationally accredited life coach, a devoted mother, and a passionate advocate for embracing life challenges. Please help me welcome the powerful woman and such an inspiring one, Palesa, all the way from South Africa. Palesa.
Thank you, Rueda. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Thank you so much for accepting to be in the podcast, Palesa.
It's my pleasure.
Amazing. So today's topic, dealing with grief. And I know a lot of women out there, majority, not even a half of women out there, they dealt or dealing with grief right now. So
Definitely.
this topic, when I thought about it, it wasn't something that is easily, people overcome it. And I thought was the best woman that can come and speak about it because she walked the walk. She gone through the journey. And I am so honored, to have you, Palisa, today to open up and share your story. Your story is such a powerful one. And thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Rueda.
Before we dive in, Palisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So my name is Palesa Pearl. I'm based in South Africa, and I'm an internationally accredited life coach. I help successful moms find joy, balance, and lead more fulfilling lives.
It's incredible. What a great way to lead a life, life full of fulfillment, Palisa. So, Palisa, regarding the topic, dealing with grief. So, what challenges that have you gone through that have changed your life, for the last years?
So in July of 2017,
Mm-hmm.
I lost my 5-month-old baby girl. She
Mm-hmm.
passed on. I got a phone call from crèche daycare. We call
Uh-huh.
daycare crèche inside. I got
Mm-hmm.
a phone call from the lady at crèche to say that unfortunately she's not breathing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She rushed her to the hospital, and upon my arrival at the hospital, unfortunately she had passed on.
When you had that call, what went through your mind?
Initially, because the lady actually got through to my partner.
Mm-hmm.
And when he called me, I took it so lightly. I was on my way to drop my older son off at school at the time, and I took it lightly. For me, the worst case scenario was
Mm-hmm.
ICU. And actually, I was like, no, at least then I just got back from maternity leave, but I'm going to get a few days extra off at work, to take care of my child. So that was my initial thought. I took it very lightly. I'm like, no, worst case scenario, I'm going to get to the hospital. Doctors are going to be dealing with her. And worst case, ICU.
As a mother, I'm sure that wasn't easy for you.
It was definitely a shock. I think me taking it lightly was probably my way of underplaying the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, no, it can't be that bad. It's not bad, even though the communication was that the child is not breathing. But as a mother, no mother wants to think that no matter what scenario or what situation your child is in, that is the end of their life. So yeah, it was definitely very hard. But my reaction at that time was, no, things are not that bad. I think generally that's how I react to most life challenges. I'll always try to look at things in a way that, no, the situation is bad, but it's not really that bad.
So were you in denial at the time?
It was definitely denial. And like I'm saying, as a mother, no matter what condition or what situation your child is in, you don't
Yeah.
want to think the worst. So I was also trying to remain quite positive.
My goodness, I can't imagine what you've gone through, my heart and my soul, to you and your family. And I know a lot of women are going through, they going through the grief of, of lost a child or lost a parent or lost, a family member. And it is not easy because I've gone through it myself. I lost, my big sister, and it's not
Mm.
something, it's not something easy. So when you hear that your daughter passed away, like what you felt at that moment, please, yeah. Because I'm sure like
So
it's not something that easy.
it definitely isn't. So I drove to so because like I said, initially I took it quite lightly, right? And I was with my
Yeah,
oldest son in the car. I drove
yeah,
him to school, I dropped him off. Then I made my way to the hospital.
yeah.
When I got into the hospital parking, I think that's when I started panicking and I started crying because I was struggling to find parking.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to find parking. I want to go in, hear what the situation is. That's when I started panicking, started crying.
Yeah.
I found parking. I got into the hospital, and the teacher from crèche was there. My partner was also there. And then one of the nurses asked to see the child's parents as well as the person who had dropped the child off. And
Mm-hmm.
then we got into a room, and the doctors explained, the child came in, and like they were explaining the medical terms. They tried resuscitating, and they went over and above. Like they're only supposed to resuscitate for this period of time, but they tried going on over and above. And the dreaded words of unfortunately, the child had not made it. My first reaction was shock. Like I didn't react at the time.
Mm-mm.
I didn't react at the time. I was shocked. Like literally, I just stood there and I just looked at them and I'm trying to process what I have just heard. So yeah, initially I didn't react. I just stood there and I was shocked.
Oh my God, I can imagine. I can imagine. Having that news, hearing that news. You lost someone that you communicated with, like in the morning, and it was fine. And then by the end of the
Yeah,
day,
it was
or
very confusing.
you hear like
It was
that.
definitely very confusing.
Yeah, it must be like shocking as well.
Definitely.
And how is this like really impacted your life, please? Yeah. How you dealt with the grief? Because I know the grief, you can't forget the person, you can't but how you dealt with it? How did you?
So at the time, luckily I had quite a good support system. My
Mm-hmm.
partner was there.
Mm-hmm.
Our family members came through, my friends at the time came through for us, and they were
Mm-hmm.
really there next to me while we were making all the funeral arrangements and even at the funeral and even after the funeral, which I appreciate so much because it's such a pity that a lot of women go through the loss of a child or the loss of any other loved one. And unfortunately, they go through it alone. So I'm grateful, first of all, that I didn't face this alone. I had people around me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
secondly, at the time, I honestly really didn't know how to cope with it. So I really put myself deep in work. I found a new job at the time. I thought that was going to be a solution. I went to this new job. I was busy learning at the new job, busy with customers. And every at that time, I remember I was in a bank but I was facing clients, right? So
Yeah.
I remember at that time, every customer that would walk in, I would just tell them my story. I think that was just my way of processing everything. So I was really blessed at the time to have those customers. I'd be able to tell them my story. And then I looked for another new job, right? Because I
Yeah.
thought, so yeah, I really, really just put myself deep into work and I looked for another job. But when I got into the other job, I really had to face reality, if I can put it like that. To say, you know what, I'm running away from dealing with the grief. I'm thinking that being deep into work and trying to find all these new jobs is going to help me tackle this grief. But at some point, I need to face it. All right.
Yeah.
And then at that time, that's when I actually left that other new job that I just got now. And I took a moment to just be. I think that's just the best way to describe it. I took a moment to just be. There's nothing that's distracting me now from facing this grief. I
Mm.
had to face the grief. It had to be Palesa against Palesa. I got an opportunity to cry, to process everything, and really, you know, um, engulf myself in the grief and actually face it head on.
Wow. You said, I mean, that's absolutely incredible, because I remember, like my mom, like took her while to face it. Honest to God, not
Yeah,
only like me as well. So you doing this, that is such a like powerful as well. I mean, hats off to you. Honest to God.
thank you.
But you said you when you were working, as a banker. And you used to tell customers about your story. Does that help when you spoke out, when you pour your heart out? Does that help to you a little bit?
It definitely did. I mean, that's another reason why I agreed to do the podcast in the first place.
Mm,
So talking about it, reliving it, it definitely does help with the healing. And when you working with different customers every time, um, you don't know their personal challenges that they're going through. You don't know the type of day that they had. But because I was so engulfed in my own pain, it was so painful at the time.
mm-hmm.
And I'm also a people's person. I'm a very talkative person. So definitely for me, having had that opportunity to engage with those customers and talk about what I was going through, it really did definitely help.
Yeah, so that's basically one of the things that's really the step that you took. So you said
Yeah, talking
after
about mm,
yeah, after what you said, you also um went and you decided to face it. It's something
definitely.
to
As
face it.
hard as it was, yeah, that was very hard.
Oh my God. Like I didn't have that courage to face it at the beginning. Like I really didn't have the courage. Like I was like almost I was praying that to God like take me because I couldn't deal with the grief that much. So hearing this from you is so empowering as well and it's so inspiring. And I'm sure people who's going through grief right now and or they gone through grief and they stuck in that place they don't know how they can face it or what the first step that they can take to healing, but you did take that first step. You talked to people and you decided, you took the decision, and that was very brave of you, very very brave of you. What other step that you took towards healing? Because I know healing from grief it takes so long. It takes so long. But what other steps that you have took beside you took the decision to face it and speak to people? What other decision that helps you and brought that maybe peace inside you a little bit?
So at the time, I remember immediately after the loss, and while everything was still fresh, me and my partner went to one session with a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
We went to that session, but we never had the strength to go back. I think it was too fresh at the time. And because now I'm not working anymore, so I'm not immersing myself now in work, and I've got all this time with myself. Um, I had a lot of time to process all the emotions and a lot of time to think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to look at the situation. And firstly, the biggest thing about the loss that I experienced at the time was, if this loss didn't happen to me, then who was it supposed to happen to, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah.
And secondly, I looked at so I've got two other children. I've got two boys. They were
Mm-hmm.
older than the baby had passed on. And I was grateful. There's so many women out there who have infertility challenges, and they're struggling to have children. And the fact that at that time I was blessed with to be a mother of three, that also was at the forefront for me to say that I've never had any fertility challenges. I was blessed to be a mother to these three beautiful people, and I still have two other people that I still get to raise.
Mm-hmm.
So I also looked at that, and just the fact that I had a supportive partner at the time that, like I said, it was a relief for me, honestly, to not be facing that situation alone. Because if I was facing that alone, I honestly don't know how I was going to survive that situation. So just that fact that I had a partner and I could lean on him for support and also be able to support him as well. And it awakened me. I think awakened is the right word, because that's really what I feel like I went through at the time. I got an opportunity to really look at my life and where I was, like in all of my life areas, right? Professionally, my relationships, family structures, etc. And it really, that awakening then led me to reflect and say that I want a different outcome now out of my life moving forward. So I think in a nutshell, I sat down, I looked at the positives that I could take out of the situation at the time, as painful as it was, and
Yeah.
really took a decision on, am I going to now use the situation that I've been through to actually be able to move forward in life, but be able to move forward in a better way and pave a better life for myself. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that was so powerful. I mean, hats off to you, Palesa. Not every woman, when they go through grief, they won't even be able to think straight. Nevertheless, that they reflect and they start counting their blessing, and this is so, I mean, oh my God, I hope these women out there here, who's dealing through grief, they can hear this, and they can hear how this powerful, advice that you are giving, and I hope they go out there and implement it. I know it's easy said than done, but at least they can give them that hope, that if somebody can, they overcome that, we can also be able to deal with our grief and move on in life, because I know so many women out there, they're going through grief right now. They are stuck. They're really stuck, like they don't know where to go,
Definitely.
Lisa.
Yeah, it is definitely easier said than done, but what it did for me at that time is it really took me out of my comfort zone.
Mm,
That's the thing about grief, that we don't really acknowledge that it takes you, because you had this person,
yeah.
you were living a beautiful life with this person, and the day comes where that person is now taken away from you, and you have to now continue living this life journey without that person,
Mm,
and nobody gives you, you know let me put it this way, it's personal for all of us, depending on who you lost and how the loss came about. But I believe we all do get affected, right? So it definitely gets you out of your comfort zone. And the thing about being out of your comfort zone is you're forced to really, you don't want that. It's so uncomfortable. It's like you're suffocating, So
Mm.
nobody wants to sit and feel like I can't breathe. So I think you really then really make a plan to say, I need to be able to breathe again. And what steps am I going to take to be able to get there? I don't want to have this suffocating feeling, this weight on my shoulders, this heavy weight on my chest. So that's the thing about being out of your comfort zone. It really does force you to want to get out of it. And I think we're also powerful in that aspect. To say, I'm facing this, it's painful, it's heavy, but I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to be okay.
Wow, positive talk. Have also like a big role, can play a big role into this. Speaking to yourself positively. Um, and as you mentioned, you start counting the blessing. Not everybody, think about that. I'm honest to God. When I lost my sister, I didn't even think straight. I
Yeah.
it's like I was like gone, like somebody's like my soul is not in this earth. It's like being
Mm.
taken with her, and just my body's on this earth. People can see body but no soul at all. So be able to think straight and count the blessing, and having also supporting environment. You talked about also supporting environment. That is the big, big thing when it comes to dealing with the grief.
Definitely.
And that what really helps as well, help you to move forward and start living your life. My goodness, Melissa, this is something else. So what you would say, what you would say, the things that have changed since then?
So what has changed since then? Just to also touch on the last point that you made now, that in terms of support, right? As women, we tend to want to be able to figure everything out on our own, right?
Yes.
And we are so ready to be there for other people in our lives, our partners, our parents, our siblings, our children.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to be so hard to actually look at what you need and give yourself what you need and make sure that you are supported. So
Mm-hmm.
what has definitely changed for me at that time is I realized that it's okay for people to be there for me, right? As much as I show up for other people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
there will be times in life where I'm going to need other people to show up for me, and it's okay. There is really nothing wrong with that, despite how we've been raised and the pressures that we face in society as women. So that's definitely a big one for me. And it's not easy. That's also not very easy. That's also another thing that's easier said than done, you
Absolutely.
know. But
Absolutely.
that's definitely something that I learned from that experience is that I can't face this alone. I'm going to need support. I'm going to need people that I can talk to. I'm going to need to surround myself with people that can relate. And another thing that changes that, like I said, talking about it really helps me. And as soon as I started talking about it, I realized that I'm not the only woman in this whole planet that has gone through this. There are so many other women that have faced the situation that I'm facing, and some of them might have been a pregnancy loss. In my case, I had already given birth, the baby was here, I was breastfeeding, I had bonded with the baby, but I realized that um, some women, the fact that they're even unable to conceive, that's something that's putting them in a lot of grief. Other women, the fact that they're losing their pregnancies, that it's also something that puts them in a lot of grief, even besides losing a child, because unfortunately, all of us, we have lost somebody that's close to us that we love, right? So
Absolutely.
talking
Yeah.
about it, and when you talk, sometimes you think you're the only one in the situation. But as soon as you start talking about it, you realize that you're not alone, and you get that fulfillment from realizing that you're not alone and that you are healing other people. And I'm very big on community. So as you talking about it, you finding your own healing, but you also then creating a community. You feel like you belong somewhere, because I think every human being, no matter where you are in the world, if you're a woman, if you're a man, we all want to feel like we belong somewhere, right? And we all want to feel
Yeah.
understood. Yeah, you really want a part of a community where they really genuinely understand what you're going through. And I tackle the grief in a certain way, right? But I
Yeah.
can meet a waiter who tackles the grief in a different way. I can meet any other woman who went through exactly the same thing that I've been through, and they can tackle it in another way. And that awakening that I mentioned as well, it really did awaken me. You know, as painful as it was, it awakened me. And um, I decided, it helped me make a decision to say, I'm going to move forward with my life in a different way. And hence today, all these years later, I ended up becoming a life coach, you know,
Mm.
because I realized that so many women need, first of all, just somebody to listen. A lot of women need somebody to just listen without judgment, you know, and
Yeah.
encourage them and work journeys with them. And not everybody always understands that that's in their personal life, right? So yeah, those are some of
Absolutely.
the things that definitely changed for me, that awakening, that decision to, you know, because you realize life is short. I mean, if a 5-month-old child can pass on, it's really a reality that this life is short. We need to make the most of it. Whatever
Mm.
goals that you have, start with what you have, start where you are. You'll figure it out along the way. And you know, I like this saying that always says that you're scared of doing something, right? But there's somebody with less experience than you, less skills, less qualifications, who's already doing it.
Mm.
You know, so yeah, those are just some of the aha moments that I got from that painful experience.
Oh my God. You know, your advice is absolutely spot on. Um, but what I actually tend to see most of the women, Felicia, is when they go through grief, instead of sharing it, they isolate it. It's like what happened with me.
Mhm.
They tend to
Mm.
feel isolated. They isolate themselves. Tend to blame themselves. You know, especially if they lost a child. You know, like they was pregnant and they lost the baby. You know, before giving birth or even after giving birth, or you know, losing somebody that close to them. They started beating themselves. So I tend to
Yeah,
see,
it's
yeah.
no, you can continue.
So yeah, I intend to, you know, see those women quite a lot instead of blend with community, you know, find, and some people don't even have a support system, Alicia. Honest to God, they do not have a support
Unfortunately,
system. So in that case, what do you think? What advice would you give to women in that case? You know, who they keep themselves isolated, they blame themselves, and they don't have a community that they can help them and support them.
yeah. So firstly, I think unfortunately, as you go through this life experience, this life journey, death is part of that journey, which is very painful,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Death is part of that journey, but none of us is prepared when it does come. And
Mm.
you know, it's not only death, because I think most of the time we discuss grief in a death perspective, but even losing your property, losing your vehicle, losing friendships, strained relationships with partners, with parents.
Mm.
There is so many grief that we all carry.
Yeah.
And yes, isolation is the easiest, because you feel like you feel like nobody cares,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can understand, nobody can relate. But I feel like we live in such a world now. We live in a global community, firstly, where there's so much information. There's the internet, right? And there's a lot of and social media as well. You can, I mean, you can go on any app and type support group or grief support, you know.
Mm-hmm.
or women that have lost children, etc. And you can immerse yourself in those groups. If you feel like the people around you don't understand and you feel like you're not going to get the relevant support, you
Yeah.
can reach out online. I mean, if you're talking to a person online, they don't need to know your life story or where you come from. At that time, if you need support, you lost somebody, you need support, then reach out, you know. So there will be somebody out there who understands, definitely. There should be. I mean, I think we all assume that our challenges are so unique, but if you actually put yourself out there and you engage with different people, you realize that you're actually not alone. So you don't have to go through your struggles alone. And even the people around you, your colleagues, your family members, your partner, that stranger in the queue at the shop, whoever's
Yeah.
willing to listen, you know, allow it. Allow it. If you don't make a decision to say that this is heavy, it's painful, but I need to find an outlet and I need to find a way to get rid of this pain in a healthy way, right? That's also very important because it's also very easy to go downhill when you're facing certain life challenges. And obviously, going downhill is not a good place because you're going to end up more in pain and more frustrated than you are at that moment, right?
Yeah.
So, if you feel like the people around you don't understand, there is somebody, I can guarantee you out there, there is another human who's probably going through the same challenge that you are going through. Put yourself out there, but I think it's very important to allow. I think that's the biggest thing. If you allow yourself, then you'll start seeing people will start surrounding you. You'll find the right Facebook group to join, right? You'll find the right podcast to listen to that will give you a solution to that problem that you'll be facing at that time. I don't think we're designed to come to this planet and live this life and just go through everything alone.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
So
more.
yeah.
I couldn't agree more, Felicia. So what would you say to women who want to, they're going through the grief and they want to take that step and they want to, to get out there and help them dealing with the grief. So what would you say to them right now today as a person who's gone through the journey?
I think first of all, readiness is quite important. So if you're feeling ready,
Mm-hmm.
then because also grief is very unique to all of us, right? I think the first step would be
Yes.
readiness. If you feel ready, then spend time with yourself. Face it first, you know, acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost this person or I've lost this and I'm not feeling okay about it. I'm in pain about it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very important to acknowledging is the first step. And then once you've acknowledged it, then it's going to then be easier for you to take a next step to say, okay, do I reach out to a counselor at work? Do I take time off from work? Do I travel? What do I do? But remember, in a healthy way, it's very important to find an intervention that's going to work, that will benefit you, you know, at that time to be able to deal with the grief. And like I said earlier, once you make a decision,
Mm-hmm.
you'll just see life happen for you. You'll meet a stranger in a shop. Like I said, all my customers were there for me and I was able to express myself. You meet a stranger and you'll connect with that stranger and you'll tell them your situation and they might end up being able to support you or they can give you the correct referrals in terms of where you can get support or even the people close to you. Sometimes you look for solutions outside or too far, right? Whereas
Yeah.
you'd find that your parents that you live with at home have been wanting to be there for you in that way, but they were waiting for you to be ready. Your partner, your friend, your colleagues, even your boss at work, for example. So I think readiness is very important. And
Yeah.
then once you realize that you're ready, then acknowledging, really immersing yourself, and you'll see, like honestly, the solutions will just come. and you'll eventually thank yourself to say, I held on to this pain for so long,
Mm,
whereas I could have tackled it a while back. But you know what? I believe that everything really does happen in divine timing as well.
wow. Wow. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. Honest to God, everything you said today is a journey that I took as well, but it took me years. Not advice. Like if I found somebody who advised me, if you came into my life before, that but that would be absolutely amazing. But you say everything happened within the time, and when you feel ready, and
Definitely.
that's what the changing point, because when somebody feel ready, they will take the decision, and once they took the decision, that is a game changer for them. That is the first step for them to be able to go through the journey of starting the healing. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be completely, because dealing with grief is it's not an easy thing. It will take time. It will take
It
time,
definitely does.
but gradually will happen, isn't it?
Definitely. And I don't ever really honestly think we overcome grief, but
Mm,
just to take off just percent or 10% or 15% of that heavy load that is really weighing on you, so you can find a way forward and you can
yeah,
get to enjoy life, even though that person that you love so much is not here anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely, Policia. So, wow, what an empowering, and inspiring. I'm sure women today who's dealing with grief, when they listen this could be the turning point for them. This could change their lives. So, if people want
I
to
hope
reach,
so.
yes. So, if people want to reach out to you, Policia, and talk to you and connect with you and share their stories with you, where they would find you.
So I'm available on WhatsApp, and my contact number, the South African code is +27 83
Mm-hmm.
937 2518. I'm
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook as Coach Palesa Pearl
Mm-hmm.
Karimeza. I'm on Instagram as Palesa Life Coach, and I'm on TikTok as Palesa Life Coach as well.
I'm sure a lot of women there, after they hear your story, they will want to connect with you. They will want to share their stories with you. The journey um through the grief insights, like the same way that you open up today and share your story is such a powerful one, and I'm sure they will connect with you, Pelisa. Is there any last word that you want to say? Anything that you want to say to women out there? Any message?
No, just, allow yourself to be supported as much as it's very hard right now and you are feeling alone. I want everybody to know that you are not alone. And life is meant to be enjoyed without pain. Yes, pain will be there, challenges will be there, but you are really genuinely allowed to have joy and balance and fulfillment and in all your life areas. Despite what society has painted to say, if things are going well in your career, then your family life is going to suffer. No, I don't think I think we all need to snap out of that and really just believe in abundance and believe in joy and believe that it's possible for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Felicia, for joining us and for sharing such an powerful and inspiring, story and great advice for women. Absolutely. I took a lot from this. I took a lot from this, and I'm sure I'm going to go and implement a lot of your advice today. And I hope all women who listen to this today At some point they will take your advice and they will go and implement them, because it's a life changing, and it can help them, bring that peace within themselves to be able to move forward in life without struggling, without carrying that pain with them. So, definitely. So, thank you so much, Felicia. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming into my podcast.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Hueda, and thank you for giving me a platform to share my story and to heal on my side as well. Thank you.
You're most welcome. You will give it a lot of opportunity for women to start healing as well. And we all in this journey together to inspire and empower each other, and uplift each other so we can help create change and live better life. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Until I see you next time. Bye bye.